Welcome to the Circuit of Success Podcast.
The Circuit of Success Podcast.
With your host,
Brett
Gilliland.
Brett Gilliland, Visionary Wealth Advisory.
The Circuit of Success Podcast. Let's start the show.
Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland. You can see my smile today. I've got two good friends, Skip Birdsong, Chris Bunting, state champion Chris Bunting and Skip Birdsong, I should say. If you can see the trophies down here, if we can get them on there. We've got a huge audience here today, too, don't we?
We brought a large crowd.
It's a very large crowd. So, thanks for being here. This has been awesome. What a run you guys have had. It's been amazing.
Thanks for having us. Obviously, we're happy to be here and talk about the kids and what they've accomplished the past 6 months or so.
Yes, absolutely. So we can, if we can, though, Skip, I'm going to start with you. I always tell people you got to start with what made you the man you are today, because you don't just wake up as a state champ. So let's start there.
Well, I mean, honestly, just growing up, first and foremost, parents, obviously, good stable foundation there. Never let me get too big in my own head kind of thing. Always kept me grounded, kept me motivated, pushing forward, those kinds of things. So that foundation from an early age. And then moving into high school, I was fortunate enough to play for the most successful high school coaching staff in state history with their 10 state championships. And we won state 3 of the 4 years I was in high school and finished there the 4th year, or my sophomore year, but the 4th of those years. And so just all of that framework is kind of what brought us to this level. And then obviously, through the years, studying and learning and, reading people and all the stuff that goes into just managing people. But just having the best foundation, honestly, that I think you could ask for.
That's amazing. 3 out of 4 is not bad.
3 out of 4 was pretty fun. It wasn't a bad time to be in high school, that's for sure.
Exactly. Chris, what about you?
Oddly similar. Parents, having a parent as one of those coaches on the staff.
Because your dad was part of that, right?
My dad was one of the coaches for those 10 state
I'll
tournaments.
interrupt, sorry, which I do to him all the time, so he's used to it. But the real
Thanks for the story, Chris.
The real reason for success to win a state title in Illinois is just to have a Bunting as an assistant coach, and then with 11 between the two of them, it's not too hard to do.
Amazing.
So that's really what it amounts to. Or 12. I'm sorry, 12.
Say
My
12.
fault. My fault. 12.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry.
It's a good family. It's a good family business. No, grew up, with my mom and dad, very supportive, very influential in my life. My dad passed away early in my life, and that was your senior year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And still had that community to kind of wrap their arms around us and my family, and stayed connected to that whole group. But, as a player, playing for good coaches, having good mentors along the way, both in soccer and in life, and kind of made this transition pretty easy.
That's awesome. And so you guys have known each other since, what, he was 10?
I was,
he was
10, you were 12.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Long time.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What would you say, Skip, is the foundation, kind of the principles that drive the success that you've had here? All of soccer, but what you guys have built here at Althoff.
First off, like anything else in life, you gotta strive for that success. You gotta lay out the goals and know where you want to get to first, which we certainly do. Thankfully, they have this little tournament every year that we can plan for and that sort of thing. So the plan isn't too hard to come up with every year, and then putting work in preparing. We prepare and over prepare and then prepare some more throughout the year. And then really the most important piece, because it's all about the players, truthfully, whether we can have all the plans in the world, but getting them to buy in, work for each other more than themselves. All the things that make any organization successful when the group cares more about the end result than themselves and that sort of thing. And we talk about all that stuff often when we stray from the path periodically, because of course we do, all of us. We point it out and then we move forward and try to get better. And so that's really, it's an open, honest, safe place, but also you're going to be challenged and held accountable along the way. And we're trying to raise productive young men and women as well when they get out of high school. So all of these characteristics that we're talking about right now will serve them well and later in life too. And on the flip side of that, they come in with a lot of those characteristics already because of their families and those kind of things. So it's a lot easier when when some of that's already there, and then you get the support on the back end for sure. But that's not always the case, and sometimes you have the support of the parents, and the kid hasn't quite figured it out yet. So, but we work through it. We talk about it. We don't hide from difficult conversations. Those kind of things. All the things that that you would expect to do, and then we just constantly revisit. And then they have to work their butts off, and the ball's got to bounce certain ways, and all those things too. In the end of it, but at the end of a year, the trophies are great, and trust me, we always try to have them. But at the end of the year, if every kid that was involved cares the same or just as much or that sort of thing, and it wasn't about playing time, and it wasn't about then I feel like we've done our job.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. So he talks about preparation. So what does that look like? Because you can apply it to soccer, but you can also apply it to business, which is, I think, a lot of similarities between sports and work. So what's that preparation like?
So as far as the preparation goes, we have to be the leaders of that. We over-prepare them. I mean, and if you were to ask our wives what our evenings look like after we get home from practice or work, it's normally with a TV or an iPad with a game on of some semblance. We've both fallen asleep, I'd imagine, with our phone hitting our face numerous times. But it corresponds to my job specifically. So I'm in sales and dealing with customers and dealing with kids and being upfront and honest and not. And the big thing we say to the kids is, I'll never tell you anything that I don't believe in. Fully.
That's a big one.
And that corresponds to my career as well. But that's probably, for me, that's the most meaningful thing to our program.
Yeah, that's huge. You talked about high expectations, but also supporting. How do you do that? Because it's tough, right? Because I can do that same thing at work.
Right.
Super high expectations, but got to support you in the back end. So how do you do that?
We've all heard that, they got to know you care before they'll believe you or follow you or any of those kinds of things. And there's all kinds of books and, we could talk about all those things. But the reality of it is you got to build a relationship, and they do truly have to know you care. And there's a variety of ways to get there with kids. What makes all of us tick is different. What motivates all of us is different, and finding those things out early. We try to get to know players before they get to us. Through summer camps and different things like that. And then the summer coming in as freshmen in particular, that summer leading into the season, we're very purposeful about trying to get to know, or even kids that maybe didn't play on the varsity level the next year, or even returning players that, they all grow and change. And so where are you at with things? So we have a lot of conversations throughout the summer in particular. Once the season hits, we do that, but at that point, you're kind of rolling every day, getting ready for the next game, that sort of thing. So in the preseason in particular, and the off-season workouts, those kind of things, we have a lot of different kinds of conversations, and we talk about fantasy football is a big thing. The kids, and we're there with them talking about it. Other sports, school stuff, obviously. So just what is it that motivates them? Where do they want to go next? Do they want to try to play at the next level? Do they want to play another sport at the next level? Do they never want to play anything again when they leave high school? Whatever those things are. And then we try to help figure out how to help them get to those places as well. So again, the soccer piece is a 2.5, 3 months, summer work and everything, 4 or 5 months, but that's a small piece of a 4-year, and then on from there. Ironically enough, I was almost late today because a couple people came back from college today and popped in to see me, right? Which is, so it's not just a 4-year thing for us, and that's when again that you really did it the right way.
That's awesome. What would you say separates a good team from a championship team?
Probably trusting each other. Trust the process, knowing that you can count on the guy next to you to do their job.
Yeah.
And that's pretty simply it. Everybody's going to work just as hard as you are, if not harder, and that should motivate you just to step it up again. And this group this year, I think, personified that for sure.
Yeah.
This was one of the most positive groups as far as picking each other up.
From top to bottom.
All the way along.
All of them. And from the best player to the kid who's still working hard to get there.
Yeah.
It was constant. And it was at practices, it was during the summer, it was in every game, no matter if that game was against the top 3A school or the bottom 1A school. It never really changed.
Yeah.
We had a lot of guys this year, and this happens. I mean, it's it's not like this is the only team ever to do that. Certainly, we've had other teams that have been successful, just didn't quite finish it, kind of thing. But with this group and others, but this one in particular, there were guys that didn't play hardly at all, throughout the course of games, and certainly down the stretch, that sort of thing, and a number of most of them, truthfully, contributed in ways that were just as impactful as whoever scored the goal in the state final or had the assist or made the save or whatever the thing was in the game. People don't see all that. We see those things and know the important, and you guys understand this, but know the importance of creating that environment and that culture that leads then to that success on the field. And this group really bought into it. They're truly friends on and off, and that's obviously important. You don't always have that, obviously. And you don't have to be, hanging out every day, that sort of thing. But when it came to time to be together, they were friends and they were fighting for each other. And that really ultimately is what sets it apart, assuming the talent's close and all those things. You got to have talent for sure, that sort of thing, but the biggest thing is get them all pulling in the same direction, and really to not want to lose for that guy more so than win for yourself.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about that because having Max, who played with you guys and had a good high school career, runner up twice, right? Sophomore, junior year, and then Drew. Of course, lets him know that he got a state medal, right? He lets him know about it.
As any good brother would.
Absolutely. But I think what's funny, so Drew and Max, we were talking about it actually last night, and we were talking about this team. I can't tell how many times that 90% of them were in my basement.
Right.
They hung out, right? They're just together, and I think that's so important, man. Because it's the same thing at work, right? If you have a bad person on the bench or in your office, right, talking, it's going to bring the whole team down. So I think that's a big deal.
It's funny, Brett. The senior we had the boys vote for captains every year. We started doing that a few years ago, and part of it is just for us to kind of see, like, do they see what we're seeing? And if they went off the rails and we needed to make adjustments, we would do that, to be totally honest. But we haven't done that yet, truthfully. Haven't needed to, which is also a good sign of, like, okay, they get it, And so to a man, they voted this year, and we had one senior captain and 3 junior captains. All the seniors voted for those juniors. So the point is like that nobody cared like what grade it was just this are the guys, these are the team, grade is grade, and that takes a lot for a group of seniors to not finally feel like, well, it's our turn to be whatever. We expect more of the seniors, truthfully, just because they've been around longer, but upperclassmen in general certainly, and then for the whole group to notice kind of how that should shake out, and it was pretty markedly the 4 captains we ended up with where it was pretty obvious who people vote. It wasn't close kind of thing, right? And
nobody should be able to argue that.
And that's not a knock on any of the other players, because we also had a lot of people that played those roles that just didn't wear the band, right? And so, including those that didn't play much at all in a lot of ways, as I said earlier. So it's interesting when those things play out like that. But it takes, again, that's just a good example of, like, one of the seniors I remember coming over, and Chris will remember this too because we laughed about it, but he came over and he said, yeah, let's be honest, there's really only one senior that should be a captain, and let me vote. and it was and we were like, okay, and then he said what he said, and so but to put your ego aside and then just do what you think is best that's the most important thing always. So
how do you guys prepare for the big game? Like, not only just yourself, but how do you get the kids to prepare, lock in, buy in, and be ready?
Usually during the season, the big games on the schedule are already big games in their minds. It's other local teams that we're playing, or when we travel, it's they know those games are obviously usually better teams, those kind of things. So those are kind of easy in some way, in that they just kind of know that, and they have, especially on local teams, they have other buddies on the that they play with, or they know, or went to grade school with, or whatever. So those are pretty easy, truthfully, to get them. Sometimes you got to ramp them back the other way.
Dial it down.
Like we got a few hours to go still. But as far as you get into the playoffs and that sort of thing, because we've talked so much, and at this point, year over year now, we talk about these things. They know the importance, and once you lose in the postseason and feel what that's like. Which everybody does, because nobody wins every time. You don't really want that to be the case, and so that's sort of that internal motivator as well. But then we do different things for different people, and different things motivate individual kids. So I may say to this one off one-on-one, like, hey, I can't believe that this team thinks that this guy's better than you at this position. You know, we might slip some things like that in.
Right.
We had a player
trash talk me?
We had a couple. Yeah, yes. We had a player a couple years ago that you know, all I had to do was like, I can't believe they think somebody's better on the field than you, and then he would, you know, of course, be a little more motivated than everybody else, and that sort of thing. So it just, that's also a piece of it, one-on-one type stuff. You try to give them those helpful hints along the way, and then ultimately, and we tell them this all the time, you've got to risk failing to succeed. Yep. You got to get beyond the little bubble, and you know, it's real easy to be safe here, but in those bigger games, you got to take it on yourself, and maybe you'll fall short. But if you tried, at least you know you tried. Don't be the guy sitting in the bar, you know, 20 years from now that says, I could have if I just wanted to, you know. We tell them that flat out, like, don't be that guy.
Right.
Like, if you fail, you fail. That's part of life. But but don't be the guy that, you know, I wish I would have, or I could have if I would have just done this.
Yeah, the state championship trophy, you can never take it away from them.
Nope.
This is for both of you. Chris, we'll go with you first. What lessons did you learn on this journey? And I mean journey, not just the boys, but the girls, because for people that maybe not know, you started January something for the girls. You marched through a great season. Wasn't necessarily a good start to the season. I think you were the losingest team, right?
Yeah,
losingest team to ever win a state title.
Another record we hold.
Another record you hold. The losingest team to ever win a state title, which was amazing. So you do that. You win on I think it was a Saturday. You do the parade and everything at the school on Sunday. Boys practice start Monday. You guys rifle through that. You go win. And now you got a day off a couple Mondays ago, right? And so, and by day off, you probably still watch soccer. But along that whole journey, however many days that was, what did you guys learn for your life, you know, for your job, for your family along that journey?
So, with this being the year where I did not have a child here, like within the program of some sort, last year was the first one, or second one.
Yeah.
But kind of really managing my time at home, and I did not do a very good job of it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Being present when I walked in the house, and something that, you know, I saw and my wife reminded me of, and it's a constant work in progress. But being more present at home, I think it quadrupled my time management skills with my career, and then just coaching after school. And
because you guys are there at what, 3 o'clock, 3:30?
3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, 3:30. I my job is flexible enough, and my customers are great enough that they understand everything I do. And but the time management piece for me, is probably the biggest piece.
Yeah.
Because I'm not there all day.
Yep. What about you, Skip?
You know, this year, this whole run, for me, a little piece of you dies every year you lose, because, you know, whatever group of seniors is, it's their last one. It's their, you know, it's hard for everybody, but it's always hard to see that group. And of course, you hold it together for them. But the truth is, every year is rough.
To interrupt you, I would say when Max's last game, his senior year, I looked at both of you. I couldn't even.
I know.
I got to high school. I didn't think Max was going to be a soccer player, and then he's a soccer player for 4 years. And then I'm like, I can't even speak to these two guys who I've been with for 4 years. I'm like fighting back the ugly cry, but it's tough.
It's hard, and so, you know, there's that piece. In the spring, my daughter was a senior. I coached my oldest son his junior and senior year at Althoff, and when we lost his last game, I was pretty sure that was the last one I was going to coach, and because I didn't feel like I could keep going and give people what I wanted to, and how am I going to make it matter again, you know, that kind of stuff. And so it took not a long time, because my wife just said, well, you have other kids, and I don't know what you're thinking, you're still going to do this. So I said, yes, dear, and as long as you're on board, which is obviously the most important piece to make this work. And so anyway, for me, there's a picture at the end of the girls' season, right as the clock strikes 0 and the horn goes off, and I don't know that I've ever felt as much relief as I did at that moment. And it was, you always want, you know, for success for the kid, and that's the truth. That one, there are a whole bunch of reasons. There's a lot of girls that I've known a long time. There's the Gabby Orlett situation. There's, you know, my daughter's senior year. My niece is a junior. We got all these things. Our goalie, I started coaching when she was 4. You know, there are a lot of things built in, and I wanted it so bad for them. And then for them to get it was and I've never felt that before. I've been a part of a lot of different things like that, and I've never had that emotion before. And then we go, like you said, we went on Saturday, parade on Sunday. 7 a.m. on Monday morning. I'm walking out and I'm like, guys, I'm not really ready for this morning yet. We're gonna have to just let them kind of play. So we went to the press box and they played, and that was the big workout that day. But and then you roll into the boys season, and my son's a junior, obviously, and again a bunch of kids that we've coached them the last few years, and all the other stuff that goes in, and siblings, and
so,
all of the stuff, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So and those end up feeling like our kids because we've known them since they were little kids too, that kind of stuff. So different kind of relief at the end of this one, but it was also different, and I learned my wife in the playoffs in particular with the boys was like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm just trying to think of anything else that I can give them a leg up on. I'd spent a lot of time, as we would, but so it was different in those regards. And the kids that the seniors this year, Bo in particular, but because he played in 2 others and fell short, and then that whole situation, and so it was special again for a different reason. The alumni constantly every year as the playoffs start, and this because Max is now one that's doing the same thing, but they start with like, okay, here we go again, let's get it done, and honestly trying to still win for all of those teams too, because I tell them every year, like we're trying to finish what you started, we're trying to get the next rung, that kind of thing. And when I got back to the bus after the final, I said to Chris, I'm like, I have 85 text messages, and many of them were from former players and that sort of thing. And so again, that's when you know you did it the right way.
Yeah. Well, I think the cool thing too is there's still a group text from guys from the past, right, that are still going on with these new players.
Yep.
And I think that's just so cool.
Yep.
But was there a defining moment either for the girls or the boys that you said, wow, I actually do think we have a chance?
You want to take that one?
So the girls is the wildest one. So they play. We were playing the St. Joe's tournament, and we were on a rough roll. We had just gotten. Anna was kind of starting. Now we started a freshman against a gauntlet of teams.
It was not fair to her at all.
Hey, welcome to high school soccer.
We told her every game.
I promised her I'd pay for the therapy and all that, and she did her best. But having a leader like Anna coming back, okay, kind of, and she played a half of a game there, and then played the second day. Played both, or one of the 2.
Yeah.
They were so uptight and tense before these games because we're 1-6-2. Now we're
1-6-2.
1-6-2 is what we started, the girls.
Yeah.
And we go to St. Joe where we're playing
St. Joe,
Koriezu, and one from
Narix?
Visitation? No.
It's Narix, wasn't it?
Incarnate Word.
That's what it was. Incarnate. That's right.
So back up a couple days before, we had won our 3rd game right before this tournament.
We're on a roll,
baby.
Well, we walk downstairs, and the song "The Wobble" is playing in the locker room. And so Maddie, his daughter, who was our manager last year, walks in, and we safe to go in there? Oh yeah, you guys got to come see this. They're doing the wobble dance. Okay, so we play. That is kind of one thing. They don't do it before games, so they did it before the last game at the
St. Joe tournament.
Yep. I don't think we lost again.
No.
Didn't lose the rest of the season.
No.
Or there may have been one.
We lost the Triad, I think,
1-0.
Yeah.
But
that's how it became the song that they did throughout the season.
Everything.
And so part of the problem is when the expectations are high every year, and then you start 1-6-2. Everybody gets a little tighter, including us. I mean, like what are we? What are we going to do? How are we going to fix? Like, we got to help them. You got to. And so, what they needed to do, one was get healthy, obviously, but 2 was relax. Like, just it's going to be whatever it's going to be at this point. So just relax and go play and have fun again. And Mikey, our other assistant coach, said to them at one point when he had walked down there, like, what, like, girls, what is, like, we can't, this is bad. Like, it's not, I get it, but like, this is bad. So that was, I would agree, that's when they kind of had the release and they started having some success. And then, of course, then we can start the hype train and all the other stuff that we do to keep it going. But then ultimately, they just bought in and defend. I mean, we didn't give up a goal in the girls' season. We didn't give up a goal in the postseason. Wow. We had 7 shutouts in a row and actually backed up a few games into the regular season. But wouldn't give up a goal in the postseason. So it's kind of hard to lose if you never get scored on.
Right.
Although 2 of those went to PK, so we could have actually lost those.
Right.
But so that was that, and then and I would agree with that. Like they needed to just relax. The boys, we started 1-2, and then we were 4-2, I think at some point, or something like 4-3, something like that. And then we won, the last 15 games and 20 out of the last 21. And they just needed to okay, you're going to have to ramp it up a little bit and be a little more serious. At halftime of one of the games, I'll leave that team name out, but at halftime of one of the games, I was not impressed with how we had played. And basically at that point told them, I'm not sure who told you were good, but they lied to you because look at the score right now on our field against the team that we should be doing much better against, kind of thing. And it was very direct and whatever, and then of course build it up later, and as we did, and we go turn the corner, but they needed to realize you've got a lot of talent and you've got an ability, but you don't just get to win because you show up. And so and then once they figured that out, for me, the first time I got it was when we played O'Fallon.
Yeah.
It's 2-0 in the first 8 minutes or whatever it was, and ends up being 4-0, and a large school with that kind of enrollment, that kind of program, history, all that kind of stuff, and to be able to and the game, it was. We handled them pretty, in all due respects, it was. And then several others after that. But that was the first time I was like, okay, so if they play at their highest, they can be, and that wasn't even necessarily our highest yet, truthfully. But if they play at that level, we do have that kind of possibility. So
love it. We're going to talk about the Althoff community here in a second, but talk about the first on the field and the last on the field. So I can't remember. I know Max's freshman year, I think you guys did that.
I think that was the first year, wasn't it?
So
I thought it was a terrible idea at first.
It is a terrible idea, just so you know, especially as I got to work the next morning.
Yeah, I know. But so just for real quick, so people that don't know, so they have a deal at the first day you can practice.
Right.
They go on the field. The kids are there at 11:59 waiting. The chain is literally across the fence. They can't go in. Clock strikes 12. Lights are on. Parents are there, and the kids walk in. So they're the first on the field with the goal to be
the last
on
standing.
the field, which is the state champ.
Yep.
Which started in Granite City.
Right.
With Bacon Dad.
Right.
Years ago. And that was a spectacle. Couple thousand people there, the grills going.
Yeah, it was different.
It was
they charged it was a fundraiser. Yeah, it was different. Yeah. Not much else going on then.
We had the Fry Daddies back here. We're doing that maybe, going forward.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But then the first year we did it was my son's senior year because they'd all heard about it, and because we talked about what that was like and what I saw and what he did, but he was like, we should do that. Well, and the first one we dodged a lightning storm.
Yeah, it almost didn't happen, actually.
Right. We got out there for about 35 minutes, but it started there. So then there's state finals, sectional finals, state championships. With those four, just that little thing to start the program each year.
So cool.
So unfortunately, I think we're invested.
Well, I keep asking, because we're older now. It's not as easy to do that kind of stuff, and then get up to go to work at a few hours later. And I seem to always schedule something that next morning.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I do that, but so each year I'm like, so we don't really need to do that anymore, right? And it's like, no, they love it, of course, because it's right in the middle of their awake schedule. But it is cool, and it's really cool. Like this year when it works out that way. The girls have been asking to do it for a couple of years, and I of course keep telling them it's school. Then we can't we can't do it when you have school. We don't have school yet on the boys' side, so we've talked about trying to figure out how to do something, but. Anyway, so
we're the principal now.
Well, yeah, so we could, we might figure a late start or something. Exactly. I don't know what we'll do, but.
So speaking of that, so you are the principal, you are the soccer coach, obviously for the boys and girls. What does the Althoff community mean to you? And obviously you've had 2 kids go through there. What does it mean to you guys?
So Althoff is what brought us to the diocese. When my son was in 8th grade, I was the principal at Granite City High School. He was. We're trying to figure out where he wanted to go to school, and so looking around at a couple different options, mainly obviously Granite City and Althoff at that point, and he decided, I really want to go to Althoff, and so we were on board with that, obviously the Catholic education and continuing that role and that sort of thing, and so we started trying to figure out what that was going to look like. At that point, there was a position that opened up at St. Teresa Small Catholic School in Belleville. So I stepped down from my position at Granite City, moved on to St. Teresa from there so that we could at least make some semblance of a way to make this work. Shortly after, ended up moving, that kind of thing. But so that's what brought us to this area we were in already, but you know what I mean, to the Belleville area in particular. And so it's always been, a special place for us in that regard. My 3 oldest have graduated from there now, and my youngest is a junior. The experiences that they've had, the community that's around, the friends we've made there in those short 10 years, lasting, on from there, that sort of thing. So it's just it's a family. I mean, I know it's a cliche that you hear a lot and whatever else, but I mean, you've experienced it now too. And it truly is that. And I, as principal now, being in the building every day, I want that to expand even more. I mean, we know how to build that obviously in our soccer programs and that sort of thing, but we want that same thing to, become even more a part of the school culture as well, which it already is, but just expanding it even more. And so, taking nothing away from anybody else, but that's really what it is for us, and we want to continue to grow that and expand that. And now I get to see on a daily basis the real impacts that we have in kids' lives and their families and that kind of thing. And that's which is why I stepped down from my superintendent role and took the principal role on. I wanted to get more into those interactions and relationships again.
Yeah, well, it's a special place, and I think to talk about Chris, the just the broader even Althoff community. Because I'm from a small town in Illinois, and it's like the guy that went to school there 40 years ago would still go to the football games and the basketball games. And now, I'm seeing these guys that, I didn't know, but they all went to Althoff, right? And they're still showing up, or they'll drive up to Chicago to go to games. So what does that mean and that support mean? Can you feel it on the energy in the field and all that?
Oh, absolutely. There's been a lot of people that in the last 4 or 5 years that have become obscure soccer fans. What are you guys doing now? We're going soccer game. Well, it's Tuesday night. That's right. Yeah. You can tell by that part. And then we do events throughout the year that are very well attended, not just by soccer families, by other administrators and teachers and other athletes' parents, but it's a pretty close knit community in all reality. Yeah. Right. And it's a healthy community at that too.
It's awesome.
It's very supportive. The coaching staff now across all different sports truly do work together. We have to share players at times. We're a small school, that kind of stuff, and so of course we all our
you
programs
see each other's games too.
And that's part of it too, and that's part of the culture that we want to grow is that sort of support. I mean, I grew up with 2,000 people come to the first practice of the year, so which is a little unrealistic probably for anything nowadays, but that's why I remember those things though, and that's the kind of culture and experience that kids get 4 years at it, and I realize it's 4 years of their life, but many of our memories throughout our lives, if they're positive or negative, truthfully, come from those 4 years, and so we want to try to make as many positive memories for them as we can.
What if you were talking to these players right now, they're watching, hopefully a lot of them are watching, what do you want the players, boys, girls teams, people from the past, what do you want them to take away from this experience in their life, moving forward?
If in any way, anything they did while they were with us, whether that was 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever that was, or all the camps and all the conversations, all of everything, winning, losing, all the, crazy things we ask them to do, all the laughs, all the tears, all the whatever. If in any way, shape, or form, those experiences help them in their work life, in their family life, and in any capacity, then we did something right. I'm pretty confident in saying somewhere along the way, hopefully something did, right? But that's ultimately what this is about. Yes, we will always try to win because that's why you keep score. And we don't, like in life and everything else, but you're not always going to win. Right. And so I can't guarantee you that. What I can guarantee is if you put some time in, if you work hard at it, if you get on the same page as your teammates, if you listen and trust the process and all those kinds of things, at the end of the day, you'll have a good experience whether we win or lose. When you win, of course, it's a little cherry on top, and trust me, it's a nice one. But that doesn't happen often, truthfully. And so the other pieces have to matter more at the end of the day. Some of the texts I get are from, many of them are from guys that mostly guys at this point, because we just have more of them, alumni wise, that we coached, are from guys that didn't play much at all, but they understood the whole thing better. We purposely talk about those things on the bench a lot. We talk about them with players that play a lot, players that don't play much, all those kind of things. And it's because someday they're gonna need to lead other people too, hopefully, many of them. And so you have to learn how to do that and what that's supposed to look like. So we try to model, well, again, we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to push you. We're going to all those things, but we're also going to help you. We're going to roll up our sleeves and do what we need to do to help you too. But then you're going to have to go, and you're going to have to do it. And so
Can't do it for 'em.
any of those things that help them, and same thing with relationships and anything else. We want them to be good humans. I mean, at the end of the day, productive members of society, those kinds of things. And if they do those things, and in any way we help that, then we did our job.
I love it. I'm going to grab one of these. I don't know which one this is, but I want you to talk about the state championship bus ride. What's the biggest difference between the bus ride with the girls and the bus ride with the boys when they've got this big trophy with them?
I got it. Go ahead. The girls bus ride, from the time we left Chicago till the time we pulled into the parking lot of school with a stop, was nothing but singing, karaoke, and crying.
Lots of crying.
Once Gabby Orlett took the aux and started playing her playlist, it went downhill.
Right.
The boys was so different because, and I really believe, the girls, it was a little earlier in the day. There's other things going on. The boys, I think, because of the two we missed out on, because of the two we played there, the last 3 games we played,
It's crazy.
The level of competition was insane. I think they were completely physically and emotionally spent.
They were. I mean, honestly, half of them were sleeping most of the time, which is crazy to me. And I even went back at one point.
Well, I saw this,
give me
some of the pictures where I thought that was all just staged.
Yeah,
joking.
no, they were actually sleeping.
Yeah.
And I went back at one point, a couple hours in, like, give me okay, we got a speaker. Give me how do I get on the speaker? And I start playing, come on, boys, this is what you just won. Like, this is crazy. Like, why are you so quiet? And for a while they did some stuff, and then it was like, okay, we're kind of tired now. Can we just? And so I would agree with you. The girls didn't stop. They were nonstop singing, and then a lot of crying towards the end and whatever. And that's not a male female thing, honestly. It's just they had more energy left, and the boys were, honestly, most of them just gassed. I think Sam Medlin might have fallen asleep before we even pulled out of the parking lot. He was.
Well, he runs a half marathon or full marathon every game.
Yeah, correct, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? So last couple questions here. Moments from either the state championship game and actually I'll go there. So what when that buzzer goes off, what was the feeling for you guys?
I mentioned earlier that the girls, the moment that it went off, I remember squatting down and feeling physically a weight, just like, I can't, it's over. Yeah. And as sad as I was that it was over, because I was sad it was over, I was also, I don't know that I've ever been more relieved in my life. And then of course it's like, okay, you have responsibilities now. You can, go do what you do. And so then it was find the girls. As I said, my daughter was a senior. My other daughter was our manager in the spring, and then all the other girls, and of course the coaches, and then it's just hugs and smiles, and all the laughing and all the stuff that goes with that. So that was that one. With the boys, I grabbed him first and said, well, this isn't getting old. And then we went, on about our thing, and just watching them celebrate. The other thing that I love is when the crowd's there and the fans and the other students and that whole section going crazy, and just watching that from afar, and parents obviously as well in that section. So that's always fun. So you walk a little closer and you get to watch that, and you watch the boys doing their thing. And then of course you got to remember, like, okay, we got to shake hands, and as hard as that is for the other team, of course, and all those other pieces,
you may even get headbutted,
and maybe somebody takes a headbutt or two. I don't know, but
it happened right next to me.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Saw the whole thing.
So again, different, more celebration initially with the boys probably than with the girls. The girls was more of a relief, like I said, because I know they had come through so much.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I expected the boys to win by any stretch of the imagination, but it was more of a different confidence level with them at that point. It had been a long time since we lost, and I knew the team we were playing was good in the final, but knowing what they did in the super sectional, knowing how well they played the day before in the semifinal against a really good team that, and then defending the way they did, that sort of thing, just thought going in like this one feels a little different.
Yeah.
So it was a different feeling, certainly. Ultimately, both very similar on the happy level, certainly, but just initially, those two responses were a little different.
I was just tired of not catching crap from my family anymore for not winning a state title.
I can't come here and do this again.
I can't do this again. No, that was the girls. The girls was very similar to mine, just a lot of relief. And I've coached a few of those girls for a very long time.
Right.
And it was really special to celebrate with them. And the boys, though, was just, as I was drained.
Yeah, it was a long weekend.
It was a long weekend, but it was so satisfying. And I think it's really satisfying for – I still consider the two classes that lost in the state finals as kind of the groundwork of what we have right now in all reality. Yeah. And it was good to – I really thought about them a lot.
Coming out of the COVID year, we had that season which was Max's freshman year, right? So we had 11 games that year.
Just destroyed
went 11-0, and that was a special team and would have been a special team if the state would have had a tournament that year, which is a different story. But I'll leave that one alone for now. But
be another podcast,
right? But I would agree, like that started then, this most recent run. The teams before the COVID year, so 16, 17, 18, 19, those teams were, so we went to the super sectional in 18, and so we kind of built to there, took a little step back in 19, but then when that group came back then in the year after COVID, so we lost in the regional final in 19, so October of 19, and then didn't get to play again until March of 21. No, 20. 21. 21.
Spring.
So it was a long time to let that one sit and marinate. And everyone was a little more motivated that year when we showed up. And then I would agree from there we just kind of kept building.
Kept it rolling.
And yeah.
It's crazy. I did try to get that song. I have a 4-minute video of the Adele song after the game, and I tried to get it up the food chain to Adele. I've not been successful yet.
Gotcha.
We're going to try to make that happen.
We sent some things out to her and to the Wobble guy in the spring because I know I'm sure other people do that kind of stuff too, but it cool, really did become and the boys, of course, we walked in with that song one night after a game, and this Adele song is blaring coming out of the locker room, and the lights in the locker room are off, and I'm like, what is happening in here right now?
Disco ball's going.
Then we walk in, and they've got on the top of the speaker is this disco ball thing, and they're all saying, okay, I guess this is the new song, whatever.
Right? All the kids involved.
It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. I do have one more question, sorry, that Max wanted me to ask. How do you guys go about putting players in positions that they've never seen before?
Max would ask that question.
Yeah, he would, right? An injury changed his entire soccer career from a forward to a right back.
Yep. So good players can play first and foremost.
Yep.
If you're and athletes can play. Teaching positions is something that I think we do a pretty good job with, as long as the kid's coachable, obviously, and certainly obviously has some skill sets that we're looking for to play those positions. So first and foremost, they got to be coachable if we're going to try to ask them to do something different. Otherwise, we can't ask them to do anything different because it won't work. Yep. So in Max's case in particular, Max, if you're listening, because we knew he was coachable and he always did whatever we asked of him, no matter what the positions were, or timing of the games or whatever, and then his skill set also fit with what we were looking for at that point. It was a pretty easy transition. is from in our mind anyway. And then of course once you start playing it and you have a little success, then you start to believe, oh, okay, I actually can do this, and then he goes from there. So that's the first thing, is they have to be coachable and that sort of thing. And that goes back again to parents and just them as kids and being open to us, taking them out of that comfort zone. And I tell kids all the time, like, look, if you might be the best right back in the state or whatever the position is, and you want to go to X, Y, or Z college, and they just recruited their best players are right back, but you really want to go to that school. What if you could play left back? Would you go there? What if you could play center mid? Would you go there? Yeah. So, like, you have to be versatile, number one, right? And again, passing is passing, shooting is shooting, defending is defending. Now, that's not 100% true all the time, but you know what I'm saying. And so we try to identify strengths that they have, characteristics, obviously, and then exploit those positives and hide the negatives as much as possible, because we all have them, or talk about them more so that you try not to become negatives anymore moving forward. So it's a fun piece. We've converted Austin Cole, who ended up being a really good center back for us, started out as a center mid, then we moved him to wing back and he was really good there, and then we moved him to center back because then he played really well there for us. And we took a midfielder for us that had literally never played defense a day in her life, including while she was a midfielder, and turned her into a left back in the girls' season. And that may have been on top of getting Anna back and obviously a bunch of other things, but that became a huge reason that we stopped giving up goals, truthfully, because she added another piece that we just were lacking. So, I mean, we do that, but again, the bottom line is they have to trust you and know that you're there for them, and just trust us and try it. If you screw, and I always tell them flat out, if you screw up, it's my fault. I'm going to put you there. Yeah. So I'm the goofball that told you to go do it. So that I think that helps a little bit, and we try to keep it light, obviously, because we know they're nervous, that sort of thing. But that's the real things. Is there's always, not all kids can do that, but you try to identify the ones that can and then make it work.
I love it. Well, we really appreciate you guys. I think the whole Althoff family, what you guys do for the soccer club as a dad and as an Althoff guy. It's awesome. It's fun being with you guys today. Most movies leave you with a cliffhanger, and so here's my cliffhanger. We won't answer this question. Do you know who the number one soccer fan for Althoff is?
I do.
Who's that?
I believe his name's Asher.
His name is Asher.
That would have been my guess.
He knows all the numbers. He wants you to quiz him all the time. Yep. Don't answer this question. Will you guys be Asher's soccer coach? Podcast is over. That's it. Thank you for being here, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.